brother? Can you hear me good?
I could hear you perfectly. Could you hear me well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm actually, I don't know if I'm getting sick or not, but my customer is just got the COVID, and I felt a little scratchy, so I just had to run to the bathroom and take like as many vitamins as possible. But I feel fine right now.
Feel better, brother. Feel better.
Oh no, man, I can't get sick. I didn't get COVID the whole, this whole thing. I'm not getting it now. I'm just not going to test.
So I have somebody over here that said, "Oh my God, I love these two." So Zach, let's just jump right in, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, I got to ask you, are you Jewish? If you don't mind me asking.
No. I'm named after a Jew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zachariah.
Zachariah, yes. St. John the Baptist's father.
So why have you put your neck out so much for the Jewish people? It's not how could I say this? It's not a popular move, right now. And I see what you're doing. And by the way, we appreciate you more than you know. The Jewish community loves you. We're rooting for you. We need you. Okay.
Thanks.
We need friends. Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do?
I didn't even really think about it. That's the funny thing. I don't really deserve as much credit as I'm getting, because the way that my platform works is I pick a subject that I want to speak on, and I speak on it, and I feel like if I get resistance, it almost emboldens me more. But the reason why I started talking about it is because I'm a Catholic Christian, and I know the history of the Jewish people. I know the Bible, and I know that it says, those who bless the Jews will be blessed, and those who curse the Jews will be cursed. And it just sort of made sense to stand with the people of Israel, because they're our closest ally under God in the Middle East. They're our only ally under God in the Middle East. So I wasn't really. It was more for me. I saw the terrorists of October 7th. It reminded me of September 11th. It reminded me of the reporters that got beheaded on camera. I've always been anti-terrorist, pro-America. And you couple that with the fact that I'm a Christian, and it's like, it just sort of, I couldn't understand why more people weren't doing it.
I quote that all the time. Whoever blesses the Jewish people is blessed. Whoever curses them is cursed. I quote it all the time, and I feel bad for these people. Every Free Palestine comment, every Palestinian flag, every River to the Sea chant is like a nail in their coffin. I feel bad for them.
You can take the religion out of it. That's the other thing. A lot of people are. I already see people in the comment section like, "Oh, you're a made-up book of stories." Okay, take the religion out of it. All right. And just go with the other point that I just made, right? We are looking at ISIS 2.0, right? ISIS 2.0 terrorists, radical Islamic terrorists, right?
ISIS were like friendly dudes compared to these people.
Yeah, I'd rather hang out with them.
They were like warm. They were like warm and fuzzy.
Well, So I know that the propaganda is working on the weak-minded, but I think anyone that doesn't have this cognitive dissonance, it's just sort of willful ignorance, right? I think that those people, I think that they're only chanting what they're chanting because of the cult of the woke left, if that makes sense, right? Because it seems like the vast majority of people that are chanting from the river to the sea are radical leftists who are aligning with radical Islamists, right? And they're useful idiots, right? They're basically
what does cognitive dissonance mean? I hear that all the time. I've Googled it. I still don't understand. What does that mean?
It's when you're sort of going against your own self-interest and just sort of ignoring what's right in front of you, because cognitive dissonance is another way of saying ignorance, intentional ignorance, right? It's like you know the facts.
Got it.
Right?
I got it. Say no more.
You know the facts, but you just ignore it because you're following the herd. It's when you grow up, you heard that old saying, like, if all of your friends jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you? We know a lot of people actually fucking would, because it's like these people. One thing that I will say And I know that I'm a very blunt and I guess you could say direct person when I'm referring to specific people, but in people in general, I believe that people are good. I believe that people are good in general. I believe that if these people actually woke up and knew what was going on, they would hate themselves, which is why I believe that a lot of this is denial. I can use a personal.
When you say these people, which people?
The people chanting "River to the Sea," the protesters, the useful.
Are you talking, because there's two sets of protesters, right? So you have the Islamic jihadist protesters, okay? And then you have the leftist woke protesters.
I'm referring to the woke left more than the Islamic jihadists. The woke left, I believe, are just, they're in denial, right? And listen, I'm no friend to the left. I do like to give them a little bit of credit because I think that liberalism in its original intent, the value system is equality and fairness and love and peace, and then they just do the exact opposite of what they're saying. But I believe that a lot of it's denial, right? That's why you hear, oh, it's AI. Like those videos are AI, or IDF was actually the one that's doing this, right? It's a denial, denial, denial. And to use a personal experience, like my brother was a heroin addict, and my mother, I'm the same person I am here, but in my personal life. So I was very direct with my family. I said, hey, you're an addict, you got to get help. My other family members that were enabling him, I told them you can't keep helping him. But it was denial, 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 denial. And it took him dying of a heroin overdose before I ever even heard my mother admit that he was an addict.
Wow. Your brother died of a heroin overdose? Wow,
Yeah,
I'm
my
sorry
brother.
to hear that.
No, it's okay.
Wow.
It's all right. But
How long ago was that?
That was 3 years ago.
Wow.
So what I'm saying is, denial is not just a river in Egypt. It's one of the strongest forces on the planet because my brother had no teeth left in his head. And my mom's way of rationalizing that was that he ate a lot of junk food. And I'm like, I eat a lot of junk food. I still got teeth. So there's the reason why I wanted to start off like that is because I want to sort of take the wind out of the sails of any of these people that are in the comment sections because that's how you disarm them, right? I don't hate you. I think you're stupid, and I think that you're in denial, right? But I don't hate you.
Right.
The radical Islamist jihadist protesters, those are true terrorist supporters. Right. And those people, I have no excuses for.
Right.
The ones that know exactly what's going on, the ones that make excuses for Hamas, those people, I mean, like they're just as bad as Hamas to me.
So let's just talk. Let's talk politics for a second. It's pretty impressive, at least from a superficial perspective, my perspective, that Biden, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, sent 2 aircraft carriers, bang, right away into the zone. And people have different reasons, speculations why he did it. They say it was posturing, it was this, it was that. But, as we say in Yiddish, I'll teach you a Yiddish expression, tuchis on the tish, which means get your ass on the table, which means that, like, burn, tire to rubber, tire to the rubber to the pavement. He sent 2 aircraft carriers. And they're the left. They're ultra left. So what do you think of that?
Yeah. So I think that because...
By the way, this is the only reason why I thought America was done. October 6th, I thought America was finished because they had no values left. And now that they have stood up, the United States Congress has stood up in the way that it has for Israel, and God sees that, I believe that now they're going to have the divine protection of what you quoted before, which is whoever blesses the Jewish people is going to be blessed.
Yeah.
And I think that America is going to be blessed now based on that. But they're still leftists. So what do you think? What do you think of that?
I think there's a lot of genuine Israel support in Congress. I think that there's a lot of ingenuine. See, this may just be me, and I am biased. I'm not a fan of Biden. I don't think anybody is. I don't think that he sent those aircraft carriers because it was the right thing to do. I think he sent it because it was literally just there's no other choice. Like when you have your closest ally being slaughtered by terrorists, there's literally the Rashida Tlaib route, and then there's everyone else, right?
Right.
And I know that Biden wants to try to play. He talks out of both sides of his mouth, and he's trying to say we need ceasefires and we need humanitarian pauses, and we're going to send aid over. We're going to send fuel over to people that are hiding under a hospital, but it's totally for the hospital. I think that there's a lot of bad things that he's already doing. Like I said, talking out of both sides of his mouth. But that move, sending the carriers, it's like you cannot not do that. So I'm glad he did, obviously. But I wouldn't give him too much credit. I think that when you see what happened on October 7th, you have to take a stance with your allies. He would have looked like a complete hypocrite if we sent $200 billion worth of aid and military weapons to Ukraine and then didn't do anything for Israel. That would have been the end of his presidency. Like, even though I already think it's over.
Interesting. Do you have any Jewish buddies?
I don't even know if I do.
You have about 200.
Well, hold on. You're running under the premise that I have buddies in general.
Hey. You have about 200. You have 219 Jewish buddies right now, by the way.
The amount of support that I've gotten just because of the videos that I'm making, which I would make anyway. Like I said, this doesn't mean that I don't appreciate everyone, but my intent is never to gain followers. My intent is only to inform and only say what I was going to say. A little backstory about me. I was like, very, very hated on TikTok because I went and I used to call out these call-out creators. TikTok is garbage, by the way. Don't use that app.
Yeah.
There was like these cancel culture call-out creators, and I called out one of them, and he had millions of followers. So all these people tried to like ruin my life. So they kept on reporting me and spamming me and banning me, and I still have stalkers to this day because of it. So I sort of made an ultimatum with those people, and this is literally just a group of people, like hundreds, thousands, I don't know. But I sort of looked into the camera and I go, I will never let you take me off the internet, and I'll continue to say whatever I want to say and however I want to say it, no matter how much you harass me, no matter how much you threaten me. They threatened to rape my mom. They posted her house on the internet. They've posted my house. They've showed up to my house. They've done all this stuff. So the way that I do content is sort of in spite of them. So when I saw the situation in Israel, I said, this is something I want to talk about. And then I started talking about it. And then I got a lot of Jewish support in my comment sections. And then I continued to talk about it. But my point is, it had absolutely no bearing on whether or not I was going to talk about it, right? Like, I think that a lot of people chase clout, and they probably would have seen, oh, I got some Jewish supporters, so I'm going to keep talking about the Jewish stuff, right?
Sure.
Like, that has nothing to do with why I'm supporting Israel. I'm supporting Israel because I believe in what is written in that book. I know that it's not the same religion.
So when you say the book, you're talking about the Old Testament?
Right now I'm working my way through. I'm pretty new to actually reading the Bible. I'm through Genesis. I just got through Genesis. I'm into Exodus. But in general, I've always just been a Catholic. So I just know the values, and I know that I know the religion in general.
Catholicism follows the Old Testament?
No. I was Catholic. Now I'm Christian.
Forgive me. Educate me. I don't know. I don't know the difference.
Catholicism, they pray to the Mary and other saints. And Christianity, essentially, you believe that Jesus was the Messiah and he died for our sins, and all we have to do is believe in him and you don't even really have to live a good life. You're supposed to. But it's really complicated and complex, and I'm actually really new. So like, my religion is not like deep rooted in faith. It's more like just common sense. I'm a Christian. Jews are our brothers and sisters. It says right there in the freaking Bible that if you bless the Jews, you will be blessed. I believe in the Bible. I believe in what I'm reading. So obviously, you have to stand with the Jewish people. That being said, it doesn't mean I stand with the Jewish government. I don't know anything about the Jewish government. So I can't condone or deny anything that they're doing. From everything that I'm seeing, it looks like there's nothing wrong with the Jewish government. But I don't know.
All governments have things. All
Yes,
governments have
even
defense.
ours,
Correct.
especially.
You have any questions on the Bible? I would love to answer. I would
You
love
know,
to.
so I know that the Torah is what, the first 6 books,
Torah is the first 5 books of
five
Moses,
books. Sorry.
and so the Jewish people the Hebrews were in Egypt.
Yeah,
Starts before. So you have Abraham,
yeah.
and
Abraham and his 2 sons, and
you
one of
had
them essentially, yeah,
Isaac, and then you had Ishmael.
Ishmael.
So
Yeah.
Ishmael was the older brother,
Yes.
and actually Muslims and Arabs come from Ishmael.
That's where, yeah. So that's where it's so funny that thousands of years later, we're kind of seeing this Bible story play out.
But you just nailed it. There's not a fight between Israelis and
Yeah.
Palestinians. First of all, there's no such thing as a Palestinian. There's Arabs
Yeah.
and Muslims that live in the land of Israel.
Correct.
Okay? There's never been Palestine. There's no such thing as that country. Doesn't exist. There's Muslims and Arabs that have the privilege of living in the land of Israel. So this is not a fight between Israelis and Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fight between Ishmael and Isaac.
Yes.
That's what this is all about. Okay, so Abraham had 2 sons, Ishmael and Isaac.
Yes.
Ishmael
Sarai was barren, Sarah was barren, and then Abraham slept with her handmaiden and had Ishmael.
Correct.
Right? And
Correct.
then God kept his promise, and he healed her for bearing children, and he had Isaac. So essentially, if Abraham just waited, right, then he would have saved us a lot of problems.
So, by the way, you should know Maimonides, who's a major commentator on the Torah, maybe you heard of him, he actually deals with Muhammad, and he deals with Islam, and he deals with Christianity and Jesus because he has to.
Yeah.
You can't ignore it. You can't have cognitive dissonance about these things, okay?
Yeah.
And he actually, Maimonides says listen to this about Christianity, very interesting. He says there's not an island in the world that has not heard of the concept of the Messiah and about one God, and that is due to the credit of Christianity.
Yeah.
And Islam also has a big part to play in that, about spreading the concept of monotheism.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac had the characteristics of somebody who would learn Torah, learn the Bible. He would spend his time in tents. He was a very inward, peaceful, humble person. And then you had Ishmael, which was a man in the field. He would hunt. He would kill. He would murder. He would lie. And he would fool his father. And it came to a point where he was throwing bows and arrows shooting bows and arrows at Isaac.
Yeah.
And Sarah says, this one has got to leave. He's not allowed to inherit with your inheritance.
Yeah.
And Abraham was very upset about this. He was very concerned. And he took Ishmael and he had to throw him out of his house. Yeah. And God said, don't worry about it. Listen to your wife. Mm-hmm. It's good marital advice, by the way. Okay?
I just recently read this story. It fascinated me so much.
But it's because it's this week's Torah portion, or the past couple weeks' Torah portion. Abraham has to throw Ishmael out of the house with Hagar, his mother. Ishmael is about to die.
He's blind, right?
Isaac ended up becoming blind later on. But this is all has to do with that original who has the inheritance. And this is all playing out right now, like you said, before our eyes.
Yeah, it's really wild, man. I mean, prophecies have come true. This fascinates me because, like I said, I want everyone to understand. I just recently so I can give you the quick story. I don't know if you've seen the movie Sound of Freedom yet.
I heard about it. I heard it's amazing.
But long story short, I just went and saw that movie. It just interested me. It looked like a good movie trailer. I went and saw it on 4th of July weekend. Now, so this is back in July, I went and saw that movie. The moment I got out of that movie theater, I said to myself, you need to go back to church. You're starting to go to church this weekend, right?
Wow.
So this is just five months ago or so. And it was so powerful because what that movie's about is child sex trafficking, and it's a true story. So I'm one of those people where I'm obsessed with researching things. Like if I see something, I have to sort of disprove it or fact check it or whatever. So I looked up this guy, Tim Ballard. I looked up all these stories, and what they did with that movie was they took a bunch of real stories and made a movie out of it, all verified, with video evidence, with reporting, with all this coverage. So that movie is essentially a true story, right? So when I left the theater, I was like, if I just saw evil, right? If I saw evil, even though I grew up Catholic and went to Sunday school when I was younger, I have not been practicing religion in decades. And as soon as I felt like the Holy Spirit kind of in me, and I was like, you're going to church this weekend. I called up my friend Christina, who goes to church, and I went with her. And again, I walked into church and I just felt something. So I've been diving into it. And it's sort of like,
are the priests in church talking about what's going on in Israel right now or not?
Yeah, my pastor did a whole 2 weeks ago. We said the same thing that I'm saying, essentially, right? Where it's like, those are our brothers and sisters. He brought up the whole story of Abraham, said that we support Israel, what have you.
I just wish they were a little more like.
And listen, my church is 3,000 people, right? It's
huge.
It's a mega church. It's called Community.
I just wish they were a little more like vocal about it.
You know,
on outside of the walls of the church.
You want to know what's interesting? So don't confuse. So this is why I left the Catholic Church, right? This is not a Catholic church. This is a non-denominational church of Christianity. So essentially, there's no politics involved in it. It's all about community and helping each other and doing the right thing and saying the right thing. But you want to know what I find interesting? Did you see the March for Israel on the Capitol where 290,000 people showed up peacefully?
Yeah, beautiful.
Right? What I immediately thought, and I'm gonna do a post on this. It's been a busy couple of days. What I immediately thought of when I saw that was they're bigger than the other side. Right, wow. Just the sheer numbers. Because if you looked at the DC pro-Palestine march, I don't know what it was, but it was like 50,000 people, right? And they were all violent and they were all screaming and yelling, right? And they had their picket signs pre-made from some freaking George Soros funded whatever, right? They were
defacing the monuments, trying to climb over the fence.
So 50,000 people were louder than 290,000, but 290,000 is bigger than 50, right? It's just simple numbers, right? What I saw with that March for Israel.
Can we do something? Can we do something for fun? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I have this guy here, Kum Diggity. Okay, Kum Diggity. He harasses me all day in my DMs. Sends me the craziest. Kum Diggity, are you open? I don't have the emotional force.
I could take him on.
Yeah, I can't debate these people. I can't fight with these people. For me, it's like
you want me to debate this guy right now?
Do you mind? For me,
absolutely.
I'm too emotional about it. It's close to home.
Oh, I can turn that on.
For me, like the sky is blue, so a guy's going to tell me it's purple, and I have to convince him it's blue. It's like so stupid.
You know, I would love to actually debate one of these. The 5 Ps, the people.
So Kum Diggity, do me a favor. You harass me all day in my DMs. Do us all a favor. Ask to join the live and talk like a man and show your face. And show your face exactly, because you're a wimp. Because none of you show your faces.
Anytime
if there's any pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas winners on here, please request to join.
Yeah, I'll debate.
Instead of putting your stupid flags, please request to join, and let's have a discussion.
Oh, that flag might as well be a bullseye. You see, what I do is I use these people for content.
One second.
We got one. Oh.
Guys, if you are pro-Palestinian,
you don't want to debate me.
Please request to join, or put in the what's it called? Kneel details I
Neil,
requested.
are you a pro-Palestine, or are you just trying to get in the live?
Pro-Palestine, pro-Palestine morons, please do us a favor. And I have the right to throw you off at any time because it's my life.
See, what I do is I actually, a lot of people confuse my content. What I do.
Hey, buddy.
So are you a pro-Palestine?
Yes, I am.
Are you pro-Hamas? Are you pro-Hamas?
No, I'm not.
Okay, who's the government of Palestine?
Now there's not a government in Palestine yet.
There isn't?
No, there is not.
What is the parliament that was just taken over by the IDF? Who occupied it?
Which one?
The parliament that was just taken over yesterday by the IDF. Who occupied it? Who was in that building?
That's a terrorist group, Hamas.
Okay.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Okay. What do you agree with the chant from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free?
Of course not.
Okay, that's good. We're off to a good start. You seem like you're actually a decent, you seem like you might be just one of the confused people and not one of the radical Islamic supporters. So go ahead and make your argument for...
Can we get a real radical Islamic supporter on here, please?
Yeah.
Now, let me just say one thing.
We don't want the diet ones, the light ones.
Yeah. So this is what I was telling you in the beginning of the beginning of this conversation, right? I was like, people like this, I have no problem with people like this, right?
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll let you talk.
Thank you. Thank you guys for letting me join. I just want to ask something.
Sure.
I am against all violence like that we have currently.
I'm not against all violence. I'm against full press court on Hamas. Full press court.
Okay, I agree with you, but what about the innocents that's being killed right now? That's
Hamas's fault.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
All right. So this is this argument comes from a place of decency. I understand the argument that you're making, right? What about the innocent people?
Correct.
But can I ask you a question? What is your solution, right? And do you believe that it is applicable, right? Like, what is the solution from you to Israel, and is it applicable? And if it's applicable, how do you apply it?
Sure. So let me ask you this: two things, right? We all agree that the IDF is one of the strongest armies, right? Like that. Let's just establish that. Are we okay with that? Okay.
It should. Every country should have a strong army.
Perfect. Tactics and precision should be one of the best things that they do have. Logistics is one of the best that they should have. How come they still have not? They only killed about 20 militant of Hamas, the terrorist group.
Where are you getting that information?
These are all documents. I can definitely provide you with all the documents. I can definitely provide you with all the resources.
The IDF took out 40 militants yesterday.
Just yesterday, but up until yesterday, there was no militant that's been taken with all these rockets.
They've been steadily taking out militants. But I can answer your question.
But let me finish my point, please. I'm sorry. There's about 11,000 people killed in Gaza right now, and only 50, according to you, only 50 that's been killed by the terrorist group Hamas. I completely support you. I completely support the cause of taking off the terrorist group, but I don't agree with the killing of the innocent people.
Okay.
When they are evacuated to the south, nobody saw these. Everybody saw these rockets being bombarded against them. That's what I don't agree with this.
Okay, let me start point by point, because I don't want to get lost on
just before you do. Guys, could we get a real Hamas supporter to request?
Yeah, let's
please,
get after him.
We want the real McCoy here.
So
this guy's he's too moderate for me.
To answer your original question, right? Why hasn't the IDF killed more? And they're not militants, all right? They are terrorists, right? Okay. Why hasn't the IDF killed more terrorists? Because they spent the past 2.5 years spending all of the money that Iran and our own government has sent them, the money that Iran makes through the sanctions that have been lifted by Joe Biden, $80 billion, right, has been spent building this tunnel network under Gaza. So they are literally hiding like rats. So the fact that the few terrorists have been killed is actually a testament to the fact that the IDF doesn't want to kill innocent people. You can't just bomb a tunnel if you don't know who's in it, right? That's point number one. That's why they haven't killed more terrorists. Point number two, the information that you're getting about 11,000 innocent people killed is from Hamas. It's from Al Jazeera, right? You cannot trust people who are telling you that 500 people died in a hospital bombing when it was a parking lot of 23 people. You can't trust that, so you don't know that it was 11,000. Now, have innocent people died because of what Hamas did on October 7th? Absolutely.
How many?
Right? So I asked you a question. If you want the innocent people to stop dying, what is your solution for the IDF, and is it applicable?
Ground invasion, just like what we
That's
did
what
in
they're
Iraq.
doing. That's exactly what they're doing. So what you're saying is they should keep doing what they're doing.
We bombard them for about like 31 days.
Yeah, you have to soften the target.
Yeah, but no one invaded in the ground until 31 days.
But what they did was they flew over Gaza. They dropped out tens of thousands of flyers telling every innocent person to get out. They sent out alerts on people's phones. They turned off the communications after and then turned them back on just to let people know to get out of there. Once they were confident that most people who have all the information of, hey, if we don't get the fuck out of here, they're going to bomb us, got out of there, then they bombed the soft targets, right? And they softened.
How is that people are being killed? Let me ask you this.
You're not a military strategist.
Okay, let me ask you this. We have a lot of mass,
come on. Diggity, come on.
We have a lot of mass shootings in the U.S. If a mass shooter comes into a school, would you bombard the whole school, and kill all the children?
Do you know how many people since Columbine have been killed in mass shootings in this country since Columbine in 2000?
I don't know the exact number, but I'm asking you.
It's 186.
Conceptual. If a mass shooter goes,
this looks like they're excited.
Here's Diggity.
Hold on,
harasses me every day in my DMs.
Can you please, guys, answer this question, please?
Sure.
If a mass shooter in a school comes in, would you bombard the school with the kids in it?
Yeah, you go. No, you wouldn't bomb the school.
Thank you.
That's a false equivalency.
Exactly.
It's a false equivalency. It's not a school. It's not a school.
False equivalency.
Neil, let me tell you something. They effed around and they found out. If Hamas would have never have done this, it never would have happened. You F around, you find out. Love you. Goodbye.
Yeah, get him out. Let's talk to Crazy. All right, let's talk to Crazy Eyes. Hey, Crazy Eyes, where are you? You went dark.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in the parking lot at the Montreal airport.
You in one of those Hamas
Montreal.
I'm in one of the tunnels.
So you support Hamas?
I don't support Hamas. I don't support Hamas. I support Palestine, but that doesn't mean being pro-Palestine doesn't mean being pro-Hamas. I think I think that message quite oftenly gets twisted. It's the same way Zionism and Judaism. There's Jewish people who are protesting against the war.
Let me ask you a question, right?
Hang on. I just want to clarify what he just said. Every single Jew on planet Earth, besides a few that have mental illness, are protesting.
Would you say Dr. Gabor Mate has a mental illness?
Are protesting against the war. Every Jew. God gave the land. God gave the land of Israel. God gave the land of Israel to the Jewish people. And if you see the propaganda, and if you see the propaganda, it's just propaganda, my friend. There's no difference.
I've really wanted to ask this question for so long, right? Okay, so you said Zionists, right? So Zionists are bad, right?
I never said Zionists are all bad, but I just said that the idea of eradicating one race.
That's not Zionism.
Is wrong.
That's not Zionism. That's not Zionism. Zionism is Jewish people that want their own homeland. That's it. That's all it is. So what you're saying is the Palestinians, right, are engaging in the same exact type of behavior that what you think Zionists are, right? Where they are actually, right, not Hamas, right? The Palestinians, right? Not Hamas. Palestinians want their own homeland in that region. That is what a Zionist is. A Zionist is a Jew who wants their own homeland in that region. right? So what you're
Do
saying is you don't
Zion
like the same.
settle
You
in
just
the West
it's
Bank and
projection, bro.
Gaza?
It's projection.
Okay, do Zionists settle in the West Bank and in Gaza, which
They
were
left.
areas?
They left Gaza in 2005. Like Israel left Gaza in 2005.
Okay,
This is a fact. This isn't my opinion.
and the West Bank?
I, did they leave the West Bank? I don't know. I think they. I know they left Gaza. I'll have to look that up. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Do you know?
Jews are not allowed. Let's just say they're not welcomed by the wonderful Palestinians in the West Bank.
Yeah.
Arabs are welcome to live in Israel. They have passports. They have rights. They go to universities. Jews are not welcome there.
So they're not in the West Bank. They're not in Gaza. Palestine is its own region. It's not a country. So what Palestinians want is they want more land.
The West.
So is it that the Palestinians deserve more land?
No,
Is that what you're saying?
I believe the Palestinians just deserve a right to be able to move around freely the same way the Israelis have that right.
You know what they probably shouldn't have done if they wanted that? They probably shouldn't have elected a fucking terrorist organization to run them, right? That's probably the best way to do that. You see, there are 2 million Palestinians and 40,000 Hamas fighters, right? They're terrorists. So you think 2 million people can't overthrow 40,000 people? It's insane to me that you guys don't understand that.
Yeah,
right
but
now, our own American government, you got fucking good old boys like me ready to strap up at any fucking minute if they try to steal another election. And you think that we're gonna allow it, right? No. We would march, it would be J6 with pew-pews, right? If the people of Palestine didn't want Hamas to rule them, they would overthrow them. What are the quick numbers? What are the quick numbers on 40,000 into 2 million? I believe it's, so what's that?
What about the chanting of, that you hear, the concerts that are going on in Israel for, the death of all people in Gaza,
What chance? Do you have any video evidence,
yes,
audio evidence? Do you have anything to back that up?
Yes, I do. And I've sent these videos to Burrell.
Dude, you're so out of place.
All right, so
you're so out of place. You're so out of place.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen these videos, right? But let me
Benjamin Netanyahu had one of his leaders. He had to reel in because of comments that he made recently.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That was a podcast interview where he said it was an option to go nuclear, and he was immediately suspended. Right? Nobody in the IDF and the Israeli government agreed with what he said, and what he said was kind of taken out of context because what he said is actually true. It is an option. They could carpet bomb the entire fucking Palestinian.
Well, 25,000 pounds of explosives is the equivalent to 2 Hiroshimas, and that's
I understand that. I'm not saying that they should. I don't think that they should. I don't agree with.
They've dropped 2,500 tons of explosives.
Why did they
in the air?
Why did they drop 2,500 tons of explosives?
Because hostages have been taken.
Yeah,
and
it's called
hostages have been taken.
F around and find out.
But they're putting the hostages at risk.
Muslims and Arabs understand one language. It's force. It's force.
One thing a lot of people leave out whenever any of the pro-Palestine people use this talking point, they leave out the fact that Hamas is firing dozens of rockets into Israel every single day.
They're firing pipe bomb style rockets versus U.S. funded high tech.
So because they don't have a budget for better rockets, their actions are negated.
Israel is in the best position to assist the U.S.
Here's an idea, right? Here's an idea.
The Suez.
Hey, listen. I'm going to talk to you like you're a child, right? Here's the deal. If I had a rock and you had a gun, I wouldn't throw the fucking rock at you because I would think maybe you'll shoot me. Right? So maybe Hamas should stop firing their pipe bombs into Israel because Israel has better rockets. Does it make sense?
You starve the people during the holy time.
Hamas is the government. Hamas has gotten $1 billion from the Iranian government in funding and aid, humanitarian aid. They used that money to buy weapons and build tunnels. If they wanted to feed their people, they would have. If they wanted to take care of their people, they would have. They are building their bases under hospitals so that the IDF cannot shoot them.
But
It's called
I'm not
using
pro Hamas.
innocent civilians as human shields.
But have Israelis ever taken possession of Palestinian homes and kept Palestinians in their home so that the Palestinian militia wouldn't attack them? Has that ever happened?
I assume if they have terrorist ties, then they shouldn't. Yes, maybe, probably. I have no idea. But you keep on equating Palestinians, right, as one group of peaceful people, right? The facts don't back up what you're saying, because the overwhelming majority of the people of Palestine are pro Hamas. There's 71% of support for the terrorist group that raped women, burned babies, threw a fucking baby in an oven, cut a woman's tits off, cut her head off, and raped her. No, I'm sorry. Anyone that supports that should be bombed.
Well, hurt people, right? And I'll admit that the Jewish community went through one of the most horrific events during and after World War II with the Holocaust, and I just feel like there is a similarity with what's going on. It might not be exact, but there are similarities that are going on. So is this community healing, or are they just still hurt, throwing more hurt around?
Could I ask you a question?
Yeah,
are you Muslim?
No.
Are you Arab?
Nope. I'm Canadian, Montreal, but my heritage is from the island of Mauritius.
Of where?
Mauritius. It's an island in the Indian Ocean next to Madagascar.
Look, may I answer your question? Hurt people. You have to look at the track record of people. When a person goes to a bank and you apply for a credit card, they look at your credit score. They look if you pay your bills. They look if you're on time. A person comes, you have a credit score, and you go to the bank. The Jews have been around for 3,300 years. If you look at the credit score of the Jewish people, they're a peaceful people. They're peaceful people. They don't start wars. They don't behead people. They don't terrorize. They're not a people. You don't hear. It's very rare in history that you heard of that. When Jews, but now, let me give you the other flip of the coin. So you have to say what is the nature of this people? And then you also have to say, what is the nature of Islam? What is the nature of radical jihad Islam? The nature of it is violent. So their neighbors that are living next to them are violent. Now, the difference between, I think, Christianity and Judaism is Christians have this concept, and Zach, you could jump in and correct me wherever you need to correct me, okay?
Yeah.
When you are slapped on the cheek, look the other way. How does the saying go?
Yeah, turn the other cheek, essentially.
Turn the other cheek.
Love thy enemy and pray for those who persecute you.
Right. So that's a Christian belief. Judaism does not subscribe to that belief. Judaism subscribes to the belief of, if somebody is trying to kill you, then you have what's called a mitzvah, which is a commandment to kill them first. So here the Jewish people have a neighbor who is a sworn enemy, who in their charter has a mandate to kill the Jewish people. So the Jewish people are reacting like Jews.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah, an eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind. All right, so here's the thing.
Which, by the way, that's also not a Jewish. You should know that's not a Jewish concept.
Here's my position.
I think we overwhelmed. I think we overwhelmed him. I think we lost him.
We broke him.
We broke him.
So look, here's the simplification of it, right? If what you want is to save lives, right? And then you have to look at this from a pragmatic approach, right? Where it's like, by engaging in violence on Hamas, you're saving lives. You're not taking lives, right? And you have to get a little cold with this, right? And you have to say, I understand that this is tragic, but innocent people that die because of what Hamas did on October 7th, right? The numbers would be incredibly higher if we did nothing. So it's a casualty of war. It's something that's factored in. It's awful. It's horrible, but it's completely unavoidable. And you have to circle back to because of what Hamas did on October 7th, right? Because it does matter how this started. It does matter that they slaughtered 1,400 people in one day. That matters. You can't just say that's in the past, right? Like you can't just say, okay, it doesn't start over every day.
Hang on,
right?
we have a genius over here, Mohammed Sayan. I don't know if I have the energy to deal. Do you have?
I mean, you could just go do your laundry or something.
You have energy. I don't have energy. I'm gonna bring him in
every day.
You could deal with him. I'm too emotional.
So the funny thing is, it's like nobody ever questioned whether or not Britain should fire on Hitler's troops, right? And what if there was an innocent person in a building, right, where the Nazis were hiding? Nobody ever thought of that, right? We didn't think in America. We didn't think we're going to go.
Ask to join the live, please.
So in America, after 9/11, none of us were saying, all right, when we retaliate against Al-Qaeda, right, what if we bomb Osama bin Laden, but there's an innocent person in his house, right? We don't think like that. We didn't think like that because 9/11. So for some reason, this war is incredibly unique because of the media coverage of it, where they're painting a narrative that is somehow equal, that the IDF could kill innocent people in a counteroffensive, while ignoring the fact that that Hamas soldiers slaughtered 1,400 people. That doesn't make sense if you look at historical media reporting. So you have to ask yourself, if the Jews run the media, who the fuck is which Jews are running this media? Because it doesn't make any sense. They're completely against you. Like the March for Israel got no media coverage. 290,000 people.
It's crazy.
290,000 people. That was
it's crazy.
Almost as you know what? I don't know how you feel about Trump. I'm a huge Trump guy.
I love Trump.
I love Trump, right? And
Omar, I just invited you to join, Omar, so you could come in.
I have been hearing the fake news narrative that January 6th was only 80,000 people or 120,000 people, right? And I'm like, no, it was like 900,000, right? It was reported initially, and people are like, no. So if you actually go look this up, you look it up, and it'll say 80,000 people were January 6th. You look at the photos side by side of the March for Israel and January 6th, it's identical, right? There were that many people there. There was hundreds of thousands of people in both locations, but the media coverage of the March for Israel is basically not.
By the way, Kum Diggity said, "I appreciate you. Thank you for the time and giving your perspective." Kum Diggity, you're freaking awesome. I freaking love you. Thank you for joining. You're invited to my house for Shabbos.
Sometimes those stalkers and like the people that are harassing you, sometimes they really just want to be heard.
Yeah.
And it's like they really just want to be acknowledged. I think that there is a huge problem in this country, well, not in the world, with like this fucking mental health thing where people are addicted to the social media. Bro, we're strangers. You don't need to talk to us.
Oh,
how you doing?
Boy.
Hello, everybody.
Here we go.
Are you pro Hamas? Okay.
It's gonna be a fun one.
So we're 0 for 3.
I don't trust them when they say that. By the way, you should know.
All right. Do you agree with the chant "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free"?
Well, how about we start this off in another way? I'm a Palestinian. I'm a Muslim. I was in Jerusalem just a couple months back in June. I got to visit my great, like my grandfather, his grandfather. I was in his house, and it was very surreal experience. I've never been. It was my first.
Where
time
are you, by the way? Where do you live?
But I got to.
I live.
Is
your family okay? That's good.
Yeah, thankfully. Yeah.
My immediate family, some of them live in Hebron. Like not my immediate, like my mother and father and immediate family lives in Canada, but I have like extended uncles and aunts
Okay.
that still live in the West Bank. So, needless to say, this all this has affected me very, very, very deeply. I've as a person that lives in Canada and surrounded by many Jews, and I've been a follower of you for quite some time. I
Thank you.
love your content. I love your advice.
Thank you.
No, and I mean that genuinely. There's a lot of very insightful stuff, and it's for me. I'm an active Muslim worshiper, prayer, and I love to see the similarities first of all between
I'd like to
Judaism and Islam.
apologize too for coming at
I
you. I thought
do
that he was
genuinely
bringing in
think
a crazy radical, by the way.
no. I totally understand that. Hey, listen, honestly, during these times, it's I think it's because of the pain. I think it's very easy to feel very uh, very
Yeah,
strongly
I mean, I
towards either
don't really.
side.
I actually
Um,
am.
I
I'm.
also kind of apologize. You're
So
like you're actually sweet.
yeah,
no worries.
you seem very nice, and I want to use that
Thank you.
opportunity to make a point that I mean I think that there's a lot of gaslighting going on both sides, where it's like, like you pro Palestine, pro. Listen, I want every innocent person to be okay, but I'm also a realist, and I just know that that's not possible, and I think that a lot of the arguments that people are
Absolutely.
making aren't based in fact or reality, right? So that's where my
Yeah.
position comes from. I think that the gaslighting that happens when somebody says, I'm pro Israel, and then they fire back with, oh, so you think people should be slaughtered? No, that's not what I think at all. I didn't say it. If I thought that, I would have
That's
said it.
actually that's actually exactly why I
Yeah.
specifically did not want to answer the questions right off the bat, because I feel like it immediately kind of paints a narrative or
And
paints a
I
picture to
took a
like who
jab.
I'm talking to.
It was a
And
strategic move, and it backfired.
no, it's all good.
I
It's
You
all
appreciate
did.
good. I stood
You
through
did.
it.
You slipped it.
I was recently reading a book on investing, and I like all your contents about, or most of it is about finance and investing and all that. So I'm gonna bring an analogy from that perspective. No investment, no matter what, is ridiculous or crazy. Nobody's like the reference was at the time that when Yahoo at the time was offered X amount of $1 million to sell their company, and they didn't, and there was like, oh, they're crazy, they should have got out while they can, they should have sold the company. Well, at the same period of time, Facebook was offered a very similar amount, and they said no, and now you can see how much that was a smart decision,
Can it,
even though for Yahoo
there,
it
there,
turned out to be a
somebody put a
horrible
comment here.
decision.
Could I read it too, Omar? Omar.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
Ariella Jackman writes, Omar is demonstrating such regulated communication. He needs to be the voice of the Palestinians and not the lunatic jihadists. He needs to be upfront.
What the
Yeah. It'll come. Don't worry.
the jihadist lunacy will come, or what?
No, well, hey, whichever one you want. But no. Listen, I'm like, my entire house is decorated with the land that
Right.
we both hold very dear. Everything around me, like I'm very, very like emotionally invested in this, and I think everybody here
Can I
is.
ask you a question? Same question I asked
So
the last person. I don't mean it to sound like gaslighting or anything. But
go ahead.
is there a solution that you think the IDF could do that's applicable, and what is it in order to minimize civilian casualties? Because that's a question that needs to be answered by both sides, right? And it's only being answered by one. The IDF has already
Yeah.
from what I can tell, tried to limit civilian casualties as much as humanly possible, right? And they're still apparently
Okay.
not doing enough. So what I want to know is what is enough and how do you do it? Because the ceasefire is not an option. It just isn't, because it'll only be happening on one side.
Okay. If you feel very strongly on that, I'm respectfully not going to argue. I definitely
No.
disagree respectfully, and I
Disagree and
think
tell me. Like I'm
really,
not. You're not gonna. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's really military capacity intelligence capacity, even just pure training, have the ability to be much more tactical, much more strategic to limit the casualties. I think it would be hard to disagree on that when you look at just like in from what I understand, the perspective of like bombing the entire neighborhood, like they're trying to like target one guy from Hamas, and they leveled the whole neighborhood, right? And an enormous amount of casualties, an enormous amount of babies. That I feel like the problem that the Palestinians face, and first of all, just to continue on that original point, what's happening now, I'm not going to say on the specifics of today, but if all them, with the amount of casualties, with the amount of people that are dying, kids, women, the same thing, right? When someone, his father and his mother and all of his family die, and he's a child, he made it. How is he gonna grow up without that radical mentality? How is he gonna grow up not just his entire against the teachings of Islam, against the teachings of what a peaceful Palestinian, right? If I was inflicted with that level of, as a child, just bombs, and then my family, everybody dies,
So I think
and I grew up with a wound.
Can I
don't
take it there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you anything, Omar? Any other part you want to add?
No, but like I don't know if you guys heard it. Like I feel like someone that just said it well was
I saw
Elon
it.
Musk.
I saw the clip.
With all of this, he's like, for every
I saw the clip.
every child
Sure.
you're killing, for every father you're killing, how many more are
I saw the clip.
right?
So
yeah, which sorry, just to finish off my last point, which is like if that's what's happening now, we're looking at Hamas, we're looking at all these people as radical, and the core is hate, or the core is they want to just inflict pain and cruelty against the people of Israel, like, or against the Jewish people, or against that's not necessarily what they believe in, as much as that's just pure hate and revenge that they're growing up with, right? Pain that they're feeling, and around them, their cousin, their friends, they're all being just absolutely put in a position where they can't even think outside of that. They can't even think outside of just getting revenge. And I think that in itself is where I would agree with Elon Musk, is if we saw, and again, now I'm just saying for the people around the world, for me, for everybody, for all the protests that are happening, all the narrative that Israel's committing a genocide, Israel's doing this, all the negative images being put on Israel, and again, I'm being very kind of in between, I'm not trying to be biased whatsoever, is because it's not being handled in a way that the capacity that Israel has to go and show the people that it's not for them, and they're just very targeted attacks, very smart way to dismantle, but instead the approach that's being taken is kill them all, level them, starve them, send them. That's what's happening. Like,
can I take it?
I'll yeah, please comment. Yes, go ahead.
Maimonides says everything that I'm going to give you is rooted in Torah, in our Bible, right? Because at the end of the day,
I'd love to.
I don't know if you were on before. This is not a fight between Palestinian and Israelis. This is between Ishmael and Isaac. Okay? And I was saying to Zach before you came on that Maimonides talks about the Jewish people don't believe that the Mashiach came yet, the Messiah. Okay? Christians believe that he was Christ. They believe he's going to come back. I think that Muslims, if I'm not mistaken, you guys also believe in the concept of a Messiah. Was it Muhammad, or is there the one that's coming?
No,
What?
it'll be Jesus. It'll be
Yeah, they believe in
Jesus
they
that comes
believe
back.
Muhammad was a prophet and Jesus is the Messiah.
Oh yeah.
No, we believe Muhammad was a prophet,
Okay.
and Jesus was a
But
prophet.
what about the Messiah? Do you have this concept of one singular person who will bring salvation to the world?
Yeah. So when we have a concept of his name's Awad al-Dajjal, which is basically the false Messiah that will come first, right? He will come, cause corruption, and he'll have powers that people start worshiping him as God. And then Jesus, who is the Messiah, will come back down and
So interesting.
eliminate the
Okay.
false Messiah.
Judaism doesn't believe that the Messiah has come yet. In Hebrew, it's called Mashiach. And
Yeah.
if you ask any Jew, from the most religious to the most irreligious, everybody will tell you that we're in the final footsteps of Mashiach. Meaning, and you could feel it in the world, by the way. Yeah, okay, great.
I believe
You
that
could
too.
feel the tension. You could feel the last moments before it comes, it says it's the birth pangs. Just like a woman has the birth pains, she has pains before she gives birth. We're experiencing the pain of birth before Mashiach comes, okay? By the way, the time of Mashiach, according to the Jewish understanding, it'll be a time of peace on earth, that all nations of the world will put their swords down. There's going to be abundance of everything, abundance of food, abundance of everything in the world. Godliness will be revealed in the world. There's not going to be any need for war because you're going to understand that everything comes from the same source. So it's like a left hand cutting off its right hand. It won't make sense. That's the nice, warm, and fluffy part. The not nice part is, it says that Maimonides writes that when Mashiach does come, that the Muslim population will be very upset at their leaders because they misguided them. And I think what has happened to the Palestinians is that they have been completely misguided by their leadership, and they have betrayed them, and they're being used right now as pawns in some game for I don't even know what the purpose is. And when you say, I can tell you that Jews are very squirmish people. We don't like war. We don't like blood. We don't like killing. I mentioned before, let's just say Jews don't have exactly a track record of war. It's not something that we are good at, okay? So when I see images of Palestinian children bleeding, crying, screaming, adults, forget about children, adults, it kills us. It kills us to its core. We don't want to be there. But unfortunately, the Palestinians have been misled so long by their leaders. And there's a famous saying, at least on our side of the fence, that if Israel put down their weapons, if the Palestinians put down their weapons and they stopped trying to murder and kill and terrorize the Jewish population of Israel, they would live in beautiful peace. There would be no checkpoints, there would be no stops, there would be no whatever they want to call it. But if the Jews laid down their arms, they would be pushed into the ocean, into the sea.
Okay,
Please.
so can I comment on that? With what you're saying, when we look back to 1948, right? I think what happened. I don't like to. I think there's a very clear separation between Jews and the Zionist movement.
What's that separation?
And the separation is that a lot of Jews don't believe that Israel is the promised land that's given to them now, and that the Zionist movement believe that Israel should be their land.
I can't speak for Jews, but I think that most of them believe that Israel is the promised land. It's in the Torah.
Yeah. Can I just clarify it? Can I clarify it for you, by the way? Can I clarify it?
But the way it was given to them by God, right? The way Israel was taken in 1948 I don't think it was
But
a
you see, it was
very
already, but it was
holy.
already
Wait.
theirs. That's the thing. Like, if you look at it, if you
By
look
the
at
way,
it,
you should know he does have a point. Before October 7th, I think there was a difference between Zionists and let's say some other Jews. Today, every Jew is a Zionist. It made them so it made them so proud. It made, but he happens to be right, by the way. If you ever hear me talk, you'll never hear me say the state of Israel. You'll never hear that. You'll always hear me. You'll always hear me say the land of Israel.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. See, that's my content has been I've been very careful and meticulous about this, right, and not trying to say Israeli government. I have no. I said this to Sam. It's not. I don't support the Israeli government. I support the Jewish people, right? And because I believe in what's written in the good book, that I believe God promised the Jewish people that land, right? So it has nothing to do with governments. It literally has nothing to do with governments or land or anything.
Correct.
It's about the people on that land deserving to be there because history, 3,000 years of history and archaeological research, all these historians have verified that what is written has facts to back it up. So a lot of people on the pro-Palestine side keep saying 1948 like it fucking matters. It doesn't, right? You could get rid of that whole argument.
Well, it does matter. I'll tell you why it does matter. I'll tell you why it does matter.
But that was a British monarch gave the Palestinian people a region in that land.
Wasn't for
I understand it wasn't for the British to give, but that's what they did, right? What you're saying is that none of this makes sense because you're actually kind of proving my point, right? The British had no right to give it. The Palestinian people had no right to have it. Israel does because it's written in historical text.
Okay, but in 1948, how did the Jews
do you know what the Palestinian flag looked? Do you know what the Palestinian flag looked like before 1948? It was a Star of David.
I understand. I'm not even going to talk with flags or borders or any of that. I'm just saying there was my great grandfather.
And by the way,
here's the history.
By the way, he's still welcome. He's still welcome to live there.
Yeah.
I want to let you know the official Torah stance.
I understand.
The official Torah stance, Torah Bible, right? The official religious Orthodox Jewish stance, according to Torah, about non-Jews living in the land of Israel. They're allowed to live there with full respect, as long as they don't serve idols.
Sure.
Listen, I totally understand that, and I understand
that the Muslims believe that the Jews have a right to live in the land of Israel. And what's the proof? If all Jews today in Israel converted to Islam, then there would be no more fighting.
Okay. First of all, I think it's really important. I purposely try not to talk a lot about Judaism because I'm not that well versed on Judaism, and I respectfully say that you cannot say Islam. You really cannot, because there's nothing in Islam that is promotes hate, promotes violence, promotes any of that. It's in Islam. It's like if you kill a life. It's like
can I ask you a question on that? And I'm not saying this facetiously. It's an honest question. If that's what is, and I hear Muslims say this all the time, okay? And I'm saying this because I want to believe that they're good people. Their track record does not show that. They say it's a religion of peace, but everything points to the exact opposite. All you have to do is flip open your phone and watch a rally.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. But what I'm going to say is one, we have to separate between the religion and people. When you're saying the Jews don't have that much of a track record, okay, well, one, let's look at the population difference between the Jews and the Muslims around the world. There's a huge difference, and historically there has been as well, right? So the number of that automatically creates a very different dynamic, because one, the amount of Muslims that are living under in countries with poverty, with the problems, with like, just because they're, again, and it brings me back to kind of what we're saying about like Gaza and Hamas and the people that are radicalized now in Israel or in Gaza and Hamas. It's because they're living in bad environments and they're going against what Islam speaks of.
Zach,
And they
Zach, he's so
know
sweet.
that.
This guy,
And
no?
No, he's nice. So
This
look,
Omar
you just,
is the
you
sweetest,
mentioned the
sweetest guy.
population. Listen, you mentioned the population disparity of Muslims versus Jews, right? There are about 2 billion Muslims in the world, and there's 16 million Jews in the world. That's a differentiation. That's a ratio of 125 to 1. So you have the Jewish people outnumbered 125 to 1. Let me finish. Right? You have Jewish people outnumbered 125 to 1. Right, throughout the entire region of the Middle East, right?
Omar,
You have 2
you're
million
you're getting invitations to people's Shabbat dinners at their
So
house,
you're
by the
getting
way.
so you
Yeah.
got let me do this. Let me do this by the numbers.
Post your other.
Let me do this by the numbers, okay?
Hey, please.
You have a ratio of 125 to 1, right, on Muslims versus Jews, right? There are only 16 million Jews, and I'm not exactly sure how many of them are in Israel. I don't know if you can answer that for me, but there are. Hold on. Let me finish my point. So Israel, which is about the size of like New Jersey, it's like essentially, or at least Palestine. Palestine is about the size of New Jersey. Has 2 million Palestinians, right? And Palestinians are essentially, if you look at it through their genealogy and everything like that, they're Jordanian, right? So you could easily take those 2 million people. If you really can't live with the Jews in peace, you could take those 2 million people and you put them in Jordan. Jordanians could take them, and then you would have a Muslim region, you have a Jewish state, and you would have everybody with their own little borders, right? If you're going to look at it from that perspective. I'm saying if you're going to look at it from a population and a geographical standpoint, that's the way you look at it, right? You are saying that there are 2 million people crammed into a city the size of a region the size of New Jersey, right? And the reason they're so angry is because they're so densely populated in that area. Meanwhile, the entire religion of Islam outnumbers the Jewish people 125 to 1, and they have more land than all of Europe, so they can actually disperse and live in peace with their own people. What you want to do, not you, what they would like to do is get all of it, right? They don't want the Jewish people to have anything, right? Because Israel is a...
Is that true? Hang on. Is that true, Omar?
No.
But when they say free Palestine, let's be honest. What does free Palestine mean?
Okay, but we cannot neglect the fact. I understand that we're looking at it and it's under the Israeli flag and under the Israeli or under the state of Israel. You can't look at it like that because the 2 million Palestinians that were there were there before the Israelis came. Yes, they were. My grandfather was one of them, and my great-grandfather.
The people of Islam have always been there.
But does anybody believe that God does Islam believe that God gave the land of Israel to the Palestinians?
No.
So what's the argument?
Okay, you're saying first of all, we do believe that. Okay, first of all, a huge part of this, and like again, this is gonna go deep, but what just to finish the first point is the Palestinians were there.
By the way, are you super Muslim? Like, are you like practicing like Ramadan 40 days?
Hold on, let me give you a quick little history lesson. All right, I think it was 1918 or 1920, the League of Nations, right, under the British monarch, named that territory, that area, Mandatory Palestine. They put it in Bibles, they put it in history books, but it was not an actual state. It's never been a state, right? So you're saying that what they did was they took the Islamic people, the Jews that were already in that region, they mixed them in with Palestinians and called the land Mandatory Palestine, and then in 1948, right, they delegated it as Palestine.
No. The land could have changed. There was different leadership that came. Israel, the British. There was different governing powers. Forget the word Palestine, right? Or forget the flag. the people that were living there, the Muslim people from that were born and inherited
Now I
in
understand.
generations and
What you're saying.
generations that lived there. What I'm talking about is there were homes there for people that lived there for generations
and they're still welcome.
and
They're still welcome
generations.
to live.
Yeah.
Just don't blow themselves
Okay.
up, and
Yeah.
don't terrorize
Nobody's
the
arguing
Jews.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but okay, I understand that. I understand that perspective because
Right.
I was there recently, and I sense that
It was
the
before
tension
October 7th
from both
or
sides,
after.
but it was
And how did you
I
feel?
went
And how did you
in
feel?
June.
And you weren't in Gaza. You were in Jerusalem.
No,
And how did you
so
feel
guys,
as an
I just
Arab
stayed in
walking around the
Jerusalem.
streets in Israel?
Or by the way, I went to the synagogue, I went to the churches, I went to everywhere. Like I for me, when I was going into Masjid al-Aqsa, which is one of the holiest places in Islam, right?
What is it?
Masjid al-Aqsa, the golden
Al-Aqsa.
dome. Yeah, Al-Aqsa. Yeah. When I was walking in, there was soldiers that disrespected me, and they were laughing at me. They were, and they did it to my wife, and they were just checking our bags and blah blah blah. Haha. Okay, yeah. Do you know how to say so? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's degrading. It was, man. It really was, and that's what upset me.
By the way, I could understand that
I'm
they could
a
do it in a more
person
respectful way. Some of these people, most of them are kids.
But
Some of them are 19, 20 years old, 21 years old.
fair. But also, the Palestinians were only allowed to drive on these roads. These guys had these license plates. These guys had those license plates. They had to go through checkpoints. They had to go through this. They're not living. And again, and even the people that are in from 1948, in Israel, they are treated as second-class citizens. And just going back to the point of it being a democracy, if it was, I think from both sides, the Zionists, and I think the reason I don't think they believe in a one-state solution is because eventually there's enough Palestinians that can vote.
You understand why they're treated like that, though, right? Like, you understand why Israel treats those people like that.
Yeah, but do you understand? Okay, like I think at the bare bone, every human does not want. They want their kids to go to school. Every human, and I don't care who. Everybody wants.
No,
everybody wants to live.
The only people that don't want peace is Hamas, and that's exactly why the Israeli people have to protect themselves from that. You can't just say, okay, this is a government ran by terrorists. The people, we can't tell who is or isn't a nefarious intent, who is going to be coming in and out of our country, in and out of our land. On a daily basis. They allow them to go to school. They allow them to do internships. They allow them on the roads, like you said. But
can I ask Omar? Omar, I have a couple questions for you on Islam. Yeah, can I ask?
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself like a moderate Muslim? Let me tell you how Judaism works. Okay. Really, in its essence, Judaism is one. There's the Torah. It has 613 commandments, and it's straightforward. Now, people are people, so the Torah says that the Jewish people are a stiff-necked people, which means that some of them are stubborn. Okay, so there's different shades. So you have completely not religious atheist Jews. Okay, which by the way, Torah still says that they're filled with positive deeds, like a pomegranate is filled with seeds. Okay. Then you have, let's say, modern Orthodox, then you have traditional, that they're not religious, but they'll do like Friday night dinner, but there won't be kosher food on the table. But it's like Friday night dinner. It's traditional. Okay. And then you have modern Orthodox, which is they try to integrate the Torah into this world. And then you have what's called Orthodox, which holds the commandments of the Torah to the best of their ability, without skipping corners. Okay. So from
what I understand, there's different grades in Islam, right? So you have, enlighten me on those different grades and where you fall on that.
Okay, so I do want to start by saying I'm not like a public speaker. I'm not speaking on behalf of everybody. I am a Muslim practicer. I'm from a Muslim family. My family lives in, I have a lot of family that lives in Palestine, and I have a lot of family that was displaced back in the time and now lives in Jordan. All very practicing Muslims. I'm a religious Muslim. I practice.
So again, are
I'm
you
a
you're
Sunni
moderate?
Muslim, though.
So
No, I'm a religious guy. Like I pray
when
5
they
times a day. Like
say
I'm religious.
like religious extremists, let's say, what do
Okay.
they call it? Islamic extremists or jihad,
Radical Islam.
radical
Okay.
Islam. What does that?
Okay.
What does that mean?
Okay. So
Are you a radical?
okay.
Are you?
So
Do you is that just like an Orthodox person?
No. I'll consider that. I'll consider that like ISIS.
And where
Which
does
is
ISIS fall into?
would you guys agree? That's
Like
ISIS committed so much more killings against Muslim people. It like nobody really realizes, right? Everybody sees what ISIS did to the West and this in around the world, but nobody actually looks at the numbers of how many they killed that are Muslim. They're not.
Hundreds of thousands.
They don't represent the teaching. Hundreds of thousands. They don't represent the teachings.
you see,
Jordan declared war against ISIS.
The problem is,
which is a Muslim
they
country.
do represent to the rest of the world.
That's what.
Meaning,
Yeah.
the Omars of the world don't get.
Okay, but I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how.
Pro-Palestinians try to.
I'll tell you why.
The DNC headquarters.
I'll tell you why. Right. When Iraq went into Iraq, which I think it's needless to say was a complete disaster from America.
I think that George W. Bush had to react to, and I think that
okay. I'm not going to comment because I think there's.
I don't know enough. I don't know enough about the subject. Let's put it that way.
I do.
Okay, there's enough publications that even by American politicians stating that was a very, very wrong move. But what that caused is that they went into war. They destroyed so many.
Yeah, we wanted to destabilize the region and get a bunch of fucking money off of oil. Bush screwed up that.
Yeah, and then they left so much weapons in deserts to people that again were massacred, destroyed. They've seen again. These people are living in deserts. They're just doing the thing. They're drinking tea, and then America comes, boom, bombs, tanks. What the fuck, right? Like. They go and they do all these massacres. Now, these people, nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to fight in the name of nothing. So Islam was used as a tool to taking things extremely out of context. And again, listen to this from the perspective of Muslims. They committed more genocide against Muslims. Islam does not allow killing, period. Right? So, when all the atrocities that they committed against Muslims, against the world, they were using it under the banner. And again, that's where I go back to saying, when you look at a population, I can't go and say Christianity is a very radical religion because they have the KKK, because they have this, that, because of all the school shootings. Oh, a white guy walks into a school, shoots up a school. If I look at the news of what happened in America, and I go back to to the same narrative of like, let's look at historically what America, what's happened and how much crime happens there, how much shootings, how much crime. You'll look at America as like it's just like a terror center, just filled with people with guns that run around and shoot schools, and shoot kids, and you can't look at anything from that perspective.
You're conflating two different points. Everyone likes to use the school shooting talking point. It's a fucking fallacy. 108. I understand.
But
I understand, and I'm agreeing with you.
In a
More
way
people have been killed.
Stupid because it's the same way that
More
The same way that I
people have been
say
killed in the
against
name of
Muslims and
Christianity than
radical
any other
Muslims.
religion.
It's
I
the same.
understand your point. It's a good point, right? But that was also fucking hundreds and hundreds of years ago, right? And it's we've gotten to.
No, but
No,
today, what about the
Christianity has
shootings that
become
happened last week? Like, you know what I mean?
much more tame. Not
Yeah.
much more.
Is tamed.
So,
What
no,
percentage,
listen.
Omar? What percentage of Muslims are radical?
They say 18 to it's
Again,
between 18
I
and
think
21%.
there's definitely. Hey, by the way, I'd be very happy to bring on someone
I
that
have
has
knowledge.
What's your
You haven't
gut?
let
much
me
more
talk.
What's
knowledge
your
than
gut?
Every
me,
time I
much
try
more
to talk, you
1%,
talk over me. I have
statistics.
knowledge. I have numbers.
1%,
18
10%?
to 25%.
I really, I really don't know. Like, I think
The numbers
for me saying that would
the
just be
numbers
like
are
really
18.
out of nowhere a number.
Shut
I'm
up.
sure there is a percentage of people
Hey,
that are radical.
Omar,
I'm not
shush.
saying that that's not
I'm
the
telling
case.
you the numbers, and you
Yeah.
keep talking. You
Hey,
keep talking over
we're
me.
being respectful
You
here,
keep
so
talking over me.
I'm not gonna
I'm
do that.
telling you the numbers. It's
Go ahead.
18 to
Respectful.
21% of Muslims support radical Islamic terrorism. That is a statistic.
I don't know where you're pulling those numbers from. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not going to speak on numbers because I
Okay.
don't think that's the source
But
that you.
by the
could be
way,
looking at
let's
could be
say it's
very
a very
different.
small percentage, and I think let's say it's 1%.
Yes.
1% of 2 billion
That would be
is
200,000.
200. Like, and I think it's more than 1%. I think that's where the Islamophobia comes from. Is like, I'll be honest with you, I'm an Islamophobe. I'm scared of Muslims.
Okay.
I really am, because
You're
no,
speaking
you're not.
one, so I hope I'm not
But
that
you're
scared,
helping me, by the way, because I'm scared.
Yeah.
You know, in Montreal where I lived, you know, they're shooting schools. They're literally shooting schools. It's not a joke. There's riots. They're chanting for the death of Jews. I'm scared. And
But by the way, the rallies that I'm going to,
yeah,
I'm going to pro-Palestinian rallies. We're not chanting for the deaths of Jews. Actually, in fact, we always bring someone that is either in holding a position of power, someone that's not Palestinian, someone that speaks for Canadians or speaks for, to say that this is not anti-Semitic movement at all. We're not anti-Semitic people. Islam is not anti-Semitic. We follow the seerah, which is the story of in the life of our Prophet Muhammad, which we follow completely. There is full-on stories and teachings that we learn from of the trade that he had with Jews, of the trade he had with in fact, I'll recite a whole chapter in the Quran which says that if you're from this religion, so be like that. God guides who He wills, and if you're ex religion, we're not supposed to come and inflict, and that's not what Islam teaches. Like if you genuinely are an Islamophobe, I'll happily recommend read the clear Quran, and anybody that's listening, read the clear Quran. The only reason I'm saying that clear Quran just because I've read it multiple times.
to be honest with you,
actually,
you know,
it is
scary.
English.
It's scary to be a Jew outside of the land of Israel with Muslims in your town right now. It's scary. It's scary.
Okay, but if you read again, if you're genuinely scared as an Islamophobe, and then read the English translation of the Quran. It's one book. It's changed so many people.
You should know. Before I was religious, I wasn't always religious. I used to be in the nightclub business.
Yeah, really.
That's a curveball. I used to be in the nightclub business when I was like 18 or 19 years old in Montreal. You live in Toronto, so the legal drinking age is just a suggestion. And when I was 20 or 21 years old, I decided to go on a spiritual journey. And I went to churches, I went to mosques, I went to Buddhist temples. I actually read large parts of the Quran, believe it or not. I can't tell you I remember much.
Can I read something?
It was almost 15 years ago. Yes, go ahead.
So, I just looked it up really quick. What does the Quran say about Jews? And right here, Omar, you can tell me if this is true or not. in 624, about 2 years after Hijra, Muhammad laid siege to the strongholds of the Jewish tribe and deported them to Syria. They
In
left all their weapons about a
620.
year after the number, blah, 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 but their homes and property were confiscated by the Muslim community. The most dramatic events occurred in 627. So essentially what it's saying is in here is Muhammad in the Quran persecuted the Jews and ordered them deported to Syria.
Okay, let me ask you this.
I'm not going to talk to a fucking robot.
Right?
I'm
Let's
asking
go
you
with
if this is...
something that. No, but like, because again, each and I think everybody that uses tech knows this. If
I'm not
if
asking you
a certain
about a narrative, I'm
narrative
just asking
is
you if that's
published, there's
true.
publishers.
Without
Okay,
asking a robot.
I
Like, I
understand
mean,
what you're
just
saying.
you tell me.
Okay, no, but that's what I'm saying, right? If you want to go with like an unbiased website, choose
I'm on
something
the
like that, and just Google
jcpa.org.
Islam.
I mean, I don't care where the... So listen, this is one thing that I don't like about certain arguments or debates when they tell you, go look up your information somewhere else. I'm looking up this information and asking if it's true. If it's not true, then I will be happy to admit that it's not true. But did Muhammad in 624 lay siege to the strongholds of the Jewish tribe, I can't pronounce that, and deport them to Syria and persecute them in the Medina of 628 and deported its residents and turning others into tenant farmers? Did he enslave the Jews is what I'm asking.
Okay. What I'm going to respond to this is, how about we look at the story
I'm just asking if it's true.
and all. No, but what you're saying is to confirm. What you're saying is to confirm that particular. I genuinely don't know the full detail of every story that
with the conquest of Khaybar, oasis north of Medina.
Okay, but so what you're insinuating is that Islam is.
You said there is
Jews,
nothing
right?
in the...
But
can I ask a question?
Let me finish real quick. The reason I looked that up was only because you said there is nothing in the Quran that has anything to do with the killing of Jews, and that's what I'm looking up. That's all.
What you're saying is a story off a website of the story of the life of Muhammad, which is, again, a story of a life of an entire person, which I'm not sure if every single story went through. And if that was the case, what was the context? What happened? Was there what? There's too much. Like, that's like taking a snippet off of a video, right? Like, you know, when like those people do that,
Muslim
they'll take like a second.
I'm asking the Muslim who knows about Islam if this story of Muhammad is true, and asking for context. You should have the context.
Okay. No, because what I started by saying is that I'm not.
So you're like me. You're like me. I don't know every story in the Bible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
I practice.
That's totally fine. That's why I tried to ask it respectfully. I'm not making any insinuation, right?
So respectfully, what I'm trying to say is, how about if you want to learn about Islam, this is like, you can't just like Google something.
Guys, I'm inviting, if there's people are asking if we could have if I could add another pro-Palestinian person.
The Free Palestine account? Sure.
Free Palestine account. So please, if you want to join, please request to join, okay? Omar, question for you. You're a really good guy, okay? I think you're a sweetheart. I think you're a sweet guy. I think that if every Arab and Muslim that was living in the land of Israel had your temperament, had your foresight, I think that they would have the most beautiful lives out of any Muslim or Arab in the entire Middle East. And I think that where the frustration...
I just want to say that I'm not just like a Muslim living in Canada. I lived in Jordan for 10 years. I think where people's confusion is,
and I have Muslim friends, I have Muslim business associates, and what the confusion is they say on one hand how peaceful the religion is, but on the other hand, what the actions come out sometimes is not in line with what they say, and there's some break in the I don't know what it is. Are you able to shed light on that?
Okay, I think I previously
By the way,
answered
if you're
this, but
pro-Palestinian,
when you look at
pro-Hamas, you guys are all up in the comments, so don't be scared. We don't bite. Please ask to join. I would love to have you. Okay?
when you look at just the state of a lot of the countries where Muslims reside and a lot of the atrocities that they've been through, again, like if you look at terrorist actions that come out of a war-torn country, what, like, how do you expect it to be, like, like when you live in an environment that does not inflict the level of pain that the Palestinians feel in Gaza right now. The Palestinians living in Gaza are in a siege. They're blocked in a wall. They don't want to be cut off from water, cut off from food, cut off from all these things, and then a genocide inflicted on them. And they don't think that they're gonna be let to live peacefully. When you look at what's happening in like Jerusalem with all the
I think
settler
that
movements,
the
again,
big part that
just
people leave out is because they're under Hamas's rule. That's the part that everyone seems to keep leaving out.
but not
I do.
again. Clearly, you
I know
don't
how
all
terrorism
the
works.
details,
I
right?
know
Guys,
how
pro-Palestinian
building
people,
tunnels.
please ask to
I
join.
understand.
There's a lot of you in the comments. Don't be a wimp. Join. Ask to
You're trying
join.
to say that the reason the Palestinian people are persecuted is because of Israel. It's because of Hamas. They're living under terrorist rule. They're living under a government of Hamas. And until you guys recognize that and start blaming the right people for why the innocent people of Palestine are
You
being persecuted,
know that
you're never going to get anywhere. You are making a false equivalency between the IDF and the Israeli government and a terrorist organization.
Okay, are you
There's no
aware
Hamas.
that there's
Yeah,
no Hamas in Jerusalem?
Hamas is. You're telling me that Hamas, miles away, just some
Are
miles
you aware
away,
there's
has no
no
control over any of that area? Their tunnels are going
Are
under the
you
West
aware?
Bank into hospitals. But no, you're right. Hamas, no, they just stay in their own little fucking bubble. Get out of here, dude.
No Hamas.
It's insane to me that you take.
No,
Why
clearly
is there?
you don't.
I'm curious,
like,
Omar. Why is there no Hamas in Jerusalem?
There
I don't know.
is there Hamas in Jerusalem? Okay, the answer
I'm sure.
is no. There's no Hamas in Jerusalem. You should be, but again, you're not aware of all the facts. It's okay.
The tunnels are there, but they're not.
All the people live in Jerusalem, what happened in Sheikh Jarrah when they all got evicted from their houses, right?
When was that?
Like what happened in 2018?
Guys, pro-Palestinian people, Muslim and Arabs, you guys are in the comments putting stupid comments. Just ask to join and I'll let you in. Don't be scared. We don't bite. Don't be a wimp. You could come on with a mask. Don't worry. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, so when you look at what's happening in Jerusalem, the settlers, first of all, have they know that they have the backing to go shoot somebody and win in the Israeli courts. That's just been proven way too many times.
Why is Hamas popular in Jerusalem? Hamas is perceived as having initiated the war to stop Sheikh Jarrah evictions, force Israel to rescind its strict security measures in Jerusalem's old city and all. Now, I'm just looking this up. I haven't fact-checked this. I haven't asked Chat GPT. What I'm saying is you need to use common fucking sense and think that if there is an area or a region that is being controlled by terrorists in anywhere in Palestine, the Palestinian government is Hamas, and they are.
Okay, but like you keep going back to the point where you're neglecting the fact that the people do not have the capacity to live in peace. They're not allowed to live in peace. They're not allowed to have their peace. Because since 1948,
it has nothing to do with the terrorists. It has nothing to do with the actual fucking terrorists that rule them. You guys aren't getting my point. If Hamas, all right, let me ask you a question. Hypothetical question. If Hamas, hold on, hypothetical.
You're not able to
Hypothetical. Hold on. I let you rant on for minutes at a time, and anytime I talk, you talk over me. Right? Shush. If Hamas didn't exist, oh my God. I wish I could fucking mute you.
There was no.
Hang on, give him a chance. Omar, give him a chance. Go ahead.
Omar, do you notice how I sit here? And let you talk for minutes at a time? I let you talk for minutes at a time, and then I wait. And then when I try to talk, you do this. Don't do this. Okay. Now,
Omar, give him a chance, and then after he's done, you'll get your chance. Go ahead.
Hypothetical question, okay? Let's say Hamas did not exist, right? And Palestine was ruled by a democratic government with an opposition party. Do you think that if that were true, that the Palestinian people would be better off or worse off, right?
Absolutely. If the Palestinians had the ability to be in that position, they would choose to live peacefully. Nobody wants to choose to live.
So you can acknowledge that. If you can acknowledge that, then you can acknowledge that Hamas is the problem. The terrorist organization is the problem. The rulers are the problem.
Do you acknowledge that the war did not start on October 7th?
The war started in 1948. The second Israel was declared a state. Every Arab nation around it automatically declared war on Israel, and only by the grace of God, because God gave the land of Israel to the Jewish people, did He protect it and make sure that they didn't destroy it like they tried to. They tried to destroy it.
Go to land or desperate.
What?
And I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what.
Desperate. I think. I'm saying it clearly. I'm not trying to think. I'm saying prior to 1948, there was no Israel, right?
Well, hang on. Prior to 1948, the Jews lived in Israel for thousands of years. I mean, it's the Jews are indigenous to that land.
They're like the Native Americans of Israel.
So do we acknowledge that? So did the Palestinians live
maybe
there
for a few hundred years?
Yeah.
Maybe for
time. What measure was not
great.
Islam,
Maybe a few hundred years.
Yeah.
They were.
Hold on. If we believe what's written in the Bible, the Torah, and everything like that, right? The Islam religion wasn't even created until thousands of years after Abraham. So yes, the Jews were there first. It's just a fact.